So I just, wait, before we get started, hey, come on, stop. Hey, that's no starting. What?
No, I got
Oh, okay, so a class is doing graphite to be trapped.
Yeah, it's me.
No, I'm caught that guy.
Tom Holland didn't just win Spider-Man. He survived a ridiculous search, 7,500 tapes, about 200 contenders, and then one unplanned backflip that basically screamed, "That's the guy."
Because obviously I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I saw the other day the video of your audition for Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
You did the hacker.
Yeah.
It's the coolest audition I've ever seen.
I was unsure if I was gonna do it. I asked my buddy and he's like, yeah, you gotta do it. But it was weird because it was just two little nice ladies recording. And I'm like, oh, do you mind if I try something first before we do the audition? And they're like, oh, please, be delighted. And then I just start getting into it, which is...
When every audition starts to blur together, the only way to separate yourself is to do something they'll never forget. Jason Momoa's Game of Thrones tape proved that instantly. Matthew McConaughey never expected a rough little scene from his college years to turn into his launch pad. Even decades later, revisiting it still feels unreal.
Hey man, these cards says. You know Bobby?
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Say, man, you got a joint?
No, but I just want this.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did. There's Pickford, that stunner. I know, he's got some conflict. About like that high school girls. I keep getting older. They stay the same age.
Man, that was 1992, 28 years ago. And you thought you might just have a little 3-day job for a summer hobby. 28 years later, I still got a little summer job that turned into a career.
Christopher Nolan runs his projects like a vault, so locked down that actors don't always even know what they're auditioning for. Anne Hathaway learned that lesson the hard way.
Is it true that the audition was quite a tense process for you getting that role?
No.
Because I read somewhere that you were thinking it would be Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah, that part. Yes, and I came in and I had this lovely Vivienne Westwood kind of, you know, beautiful but kind of mad tailoring top with like stripes going everywhere, and I wore these like flat kind of jokery looking shoes. And I was just kind of trying to give Chris like these crazy little smiles. And then about an hour into the meeting, he goes, well, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but it's Catwoman. And I was like, shifting into a different gear right now.
And staying on the Tom theme, Tom Hiddleston feels glued to Loki now. But he originally walked into Marvel trying out for Thor. Then Marvel made one decision that rewired his entire career.
You were telling me backstage that when you auditioned for Thor, you actually auditioned for Thor.
I did. Yes, I did. The remit was if you're over 6 foot and you've got blonde hair and, you know, you could come and have a pop at it. So I actually auditioned. I never auditioned for Loki. I only ever auditioned for Thor.
We have friends over at Marvel that sent us the original audition footage of you. This has never been shown. This has never been shown.
And remember, you chose this.
For Outland! I think we can all agree that they cast the right actor.
Not every star wants to relive an audition, especially when it's for something as wonderfully ridiculous as Austin Powers. Beyonce's reaction says everything before it even starts.
Going to the Austin Powers archives.
Yes, we do.
And find the audition tape.
What?
Yeah.
You have the audition tape? No! Please tell me y'all aren't gonna play that.
Yeah, baby!
I know.
Yeah, too. The technical time make you ready! Yes.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You were laughing a lot, weren't you?
Yeah. Sometimes that happens when I'm uncomfortable.
Before Leonardo DiCaprio became a full-on Hollywood giant, he was still grinding through auditions like everybody else. And even after impressing once, James Cameron reminded him, no one coasts in for free.
Do you remember the audition when you first met De Niro?
I remember there was a mustard jar scene, and he had to jam a mustard jar in my eye repeatedly. The script sort of didn't call for it, but I got up and he said, "Now, is it empty? Is it empty?" And I got up and I screamed, "No!" Like completely unnecessary, but I screamed in his face, and I sat there, with my head, looking like a red tomato, and everyone started laughing at me in the entire room. De Niro, everybody was in hysterics. And I sat there frozen thinking, oh my God, I just screwed this entire opportunity up. And then, Bob, in traditional De Niro fashion, kind of just looked at me and went, it's good, it's good, it's good.
Well, Leo came in, of course, charmed everybody, myself included. He didn't know he was going to test. He came in, he thought it was another meeting to meet Kate. And he said, "You mean I'm reading?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I don't read." I said, "Well," I shook his hand. I said, "Well, thanks for coming by. If I don't read, I don't get the part, just like that." And I said, "Oh, yeah, come on. I'm not going to f it up by making the wrong decision in casting, so you're going to read or you're not going to get the part." He's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, every ounce of his entire being is just so, negative, right up until I said action. And then he turned into Jack. I'm like, all right, he's the guy.
For most actors, auditions aren't glamorous. They're straight up endurance. And there's one story about the grind that nails that reality perfectly.
Lucky to get an audition. Then you get it. You get there. You walk into a room full of guys that look just like you. You realize you're not the only one that wore the cowboy hat. Then before you go in, you hear the casting director negotiating the deal for the guy that already got the part.
Yeah.
Turns out Jared Leto already got it.
Yeah.
Then you go in, you think you're doing you just think, I'll do it as an acting exercise. You go to your car, you got a parking ticket because the street cleaning sign has been covered by the auditions this way sign. Then you get in your car, you change, you muster up, the guts to go back to until you go to another one, and you wait in traffic for 2 hours and you go through it again.
Scarlett Johansson losing Jumanji as a kid stings in theory, but it's hard to argue with the timeline that followed. Missing that one part didn't slow her down for long.
Auditioned for Jumanji. The role went to Kirsten Dunst.
That is true.
As a kid, did you go to see Jumanji after?
Yeah, I saw Jumanji, but I liked it. I liked Jumanji.
Yes, but do you sit there and go, motherfuckers, why didn't they take
No,
me?
I wasn't bitter enough at then.
Yeah, now you're
Now I'm bitter.
Sometimes the audition that defines a career also tells you everything about the time it was made. Megan Fox's Transformers test is basically the perfect example.
The only thing Mike asked me when I was reading with him and auditioning, he just asked me if I could run. He's like, "Can you run?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I think so." The other thing he asked me, he goes, "Do you have a nice stomach?" And I said, "Well, in my opinion, yes, I do." So I figured I'm going to be running, hopefully not naked, but I'll be running in a belly shirt, maybe.
Hugh Jackman and Wolverine feel like the same person now. But his road to the role was way weirder than most people think. At one point, he didn't even realize Wolverine was a real animal.
There isn't what I do, but what I do isn't very nice.
Cut, you got it. Yeah. Good. Got it? Okay. Well, Brando was kind of an innovator.
Genius.
Yeah.
But I went for the audition and I said, yeah, but Anna Paquin, this is Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, this is the director of Usual Suspects. I said, there's got to be more to this. Yeah, I'd only read 3 pages too.
What did you do? You walked around. I know your wife told you not to take the part because
she said don't do the audition.
Yeah.
She said you're at the Royal National Theatre and you got freaking claws coming out of your hands.
Like, plus, you knew nothing about Wolverine. You thought it was about wolves. You thought you were playing the wolves.
I didn't even know. I'd never heard of X-Men. I didn't know there was an animal called a Wolverine. I thought it was like one of those Shazam. It's a made-up comic book animal or something. And I came to set after studying wolves, and I had this whole physicality.
Yeah.
And I was doing a rehearsal, and the director goes, "What are you doing with your body, man?" And I said, I was just thinking the wolves are they're always smelling, and they're looking down because they're actually smelling the ground. And he goes, "Wolves? You're a Wolverine?" I said, "Well, there's no such thing." And he goes, "Yeah. There is. Go to the zoo down the road, man. There's 4 of them down there."
Watching your own old audition tape is painful for basically anyone. Owen Cooper's reaction proves it, no matter how life-changing that clip ended up being.
How do you feel about watching yourself, by the way?
Oh my God, look at you.
Oh my. Oh.
Look at my head.
Why is your hair doing that?
Because that's what my head used to look like. I
Every
hated
day.
that. I hated that.
Okay, well you're not supposed to like looking at yourself. But that was great.
That was the one that got me the part, I think.
Really?
Apparently, yeah.
But that's literally, that's Jamie.
Even a Bond test can come back to haunt you years later. Anthony Starr's reaction to his old tape is proof actors usually roast themselves harder than anyone else.
It also recently emerged, and I don't know how you feel about this, but your audition for James Bond came out, Anthony.
Vodka martini, shaken not stirred. And for you?
The same. Thank you, Mr.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
I don't know how to feel about that coming out. It's very strange that they even let it out. It doesn't bother me, really. I mean, look, we all start somewhere, so it is what it is. But it is one of the worst readings of Bond, James Bond, you'll ever see. Stone-faced piece of wood, just Bond, James Bond.
And it gets even crazier when you realize Hugh almost wasn't in the conversation at all. Sometimes the biggest break happens because someone else steps away at the right moment.
It says that Russell Crowe was the original. They wanted him to be Wolverine. Is that true?
Absolutely.
And Russell Crowe called you and said, hey, you ought to go in on this part.
He didn't call me. He called Brian Singer, the director. He said, listen, I don't want to do it, but you should look at this guy.
And the other role, famously, Wolverine, which Hugh Jackman, of course, has done a brilliant job with, right?
Brilliant.
We agree.
And there's no way I would have ever done that.
Why?
Even if I'd done the film, I wouldn't have carried it through with the grace and the direction that Hugh gave it.
You would only do it once.
Possibly.
Even people who end up as huge stars can totally unravel in the audition room. Roberts. Pattinson's early stories show how fast confidence can disappear right before the big break.
I'd started to develop this absolute terror of auditions, which I'm sure a lot of actors have. And I'd kind of could be so enthusiastic about something, and then the day of the audition, just my confidence would just entirely collapse. The same thing happened the morning of the Twilight audition. I used to live on my agent's couch at the time in her apartment. And she sent me the email exchange. It was like, I'm freaking out. I don't want to go to the audition anymore. And then underneath it saying, well, find a Valium in my bathroom. I'd never taken a Valium before. I just remember just feeling so glorious in the back of the taxi with the window open and just being like, wow, this is what I've been missing.
Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man audition basically became the blueprint for the entire MCU. Watching it back, you can spot the exact moment Marvel found the face of the franchise.
Are you going to ignore all those advances that were spawned from military funding?
Wow. Wow, you really have all of this down. You ever lose an hour of sleep your whole life?
I gotta tell you, is that thing wrong? You're never gonna get me in the sack with that attitude. Crudité?
For that one instant, I had to psych myself into that there was nobody else on earth had a chance. I was too prepared. I was too confident.
Was it a great audition, in your opinion?
I think, obviously it went pretty well.
Explain this to me, because I'm not an actor and I don't understand. Would you go and study a confident tycoon and kind of take on his persona? Is that a way of getting to that character?
I was just thinking, this is me, and I am in this situation.
That's what you do.
Absolutely.
For some actors, revisiting the past means going straight back to the exact second it all began. And even then, the awkward little details are impossible to unsee.
Have you ever wanted to learn the secrets of the Jedi? To give you an idea of what that might be like, I thought I'd go back to the very beginning, my original audition.
This begins interesting. Hans, maybe you should just drop us off. I'm sure.
Did I call him Hans? Why did I call him Hans instead of Han? And by the way, all through the shoot, people were going, is it Han or Han? Is it Chewbacca or Chewbacca?
Here is their greatest defense. Here, I doubt the actual security there is much greater than on Aquiline or Sullus, and what there is most likely directed towards a large scale assault.
Who talks like this?
Before Lucas Gage popped up in The White Lotus, Euphoria, and You, He was just another actor doing a Zoom audition trying to get a shot. Then a hot mic slip showed how ruthless that whole process can be.
These poor people live in these tiny apartments. Like, I'm looking at his, background, and he's got his TV and
Yeah, mute it. I know it's a shitty apartment. That's why give me this job so I can get a better one. All right.
Not every almost is actually a loss. Cillian Murphy did test for Batman, but looking back, it's pretty clear he ended up exactly where he was supposed to be.
In Dark Knight films, playing the Scarecrow, I did not realize you auditioned to play Batman.
Well, yes, amongst many other actors.
Yes.
Yeah. It was obvious that Christian Bale was going to be Batman. At that time, it was clear, and he's such a magnificent Batman and Bruce Wayne. But I did get to I think it was the Val Kilmer suit. I tried on, which they had to adjust.
Joe murdered my parents, and they deserve.
Don't pretend you wanted to do this for them.
But it's a weird thing. You put it on, you put the cowl on, and the voice drops. Drops a couple of octaves. So that's it. You can't do the Batman voice without doing the Batman.
Yeah. That's why I couldn't do it, because I'd be like, I'm Batman. They'd be like, no, you're not. Get out of here.
That's it for this one. Tell me down in the comments who your favorite actor is.